Cut down on the illegal immigration and also on immigration from select Muslim countries that might pose a security risk.
And as far as the racial issues are concerned, what is your take on what's going on in America today?
Which aspect in particular?
Well, you have been higher tensions now between, for example, the African American community and policemen and also, yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of that is coming from the left, and they're really playing a lot of identity politics. They want the African American community to be a solid Democratic voting bloc, and so they really play those identity issues with that demographic, and I think that's really polarizing. And in contrast, I do think Trump is attempting to appeal to white voters. I don't think he's attempting to antagonize black voters. I think that he really wants Americans to work together and kind of play for the same team. So I don't see any kind of threat there, but he is offering a different approach than the identity politics of the left. And I think really the identity politics have really polarized and deteriorated race relations in America over the last couple of generations, and that things are headed in the wrong direction in a lot of ways. And maybe Trump can turn that around, maybe not, but I know that the left isn't going to turn it around. They're only going to intensify it.
I was listening a little bit to your conversation the other day, and some people were talking about Black Lives Matter. On the other hand, we were talking about white supremacists. Did you identify to a white supremacist or no?
I don't call myself a white supremacist, no. I do know that when my parents were born in around 1960 or just a little before, the United States was 90% white. And now the United States is about 70% white, and in 30 years, whites are going to be a minority. I think that for white people like me, that hasn't been a good change, and it's not going to be a good change if it keeps moving in that direction, because quite simply our interests are going to suffer. Like when you have different groups of people with different interests and different values and different priorities, then it's harder to protect your own interests if you're a minority.
And how different are the interests of the white people compared to other people's interests?
Well, I think they're very different. I think there's a huge difference between Europe and Africa, and those differences kind of translate over to America, over to a new context. I mean, you can't just we've heard this fallacy from the left for the last 100 years that we're all equal, we're all kind of exactly the same, the only differences are superficial, it's just pigmentation, but I don't think that's the case. I think people do differ in more fundamental ways, like in their abilities and their values and their preferences. Obviously the cultures are different, but those different cultures kind of reflect different underlying values too. So everybody wants to live in a culture that's based on their values and is suitable for their interests, and white people are no different than any other in that respect.
How do you think Trump can turn that around, because the demographics obviously are not in your favor?
Right, they're not in our favor, and we'll just have to see what happens with that. But cutting down on the illegal immigration will help a lot, because that's a major source. There are from 11 to 30 million, depending on who you ask, illegal immigrants in the United States. Most of them are of Hispanic descent, and that's problematic for a variety of reasons, because there are some notable cultural differences between Anglo-Americans and Hispanics. One of them is the policies that we support, like traditional Anglo-American type people, and I'm part Anglo, but actually by descent I'm also German and Irish. And there was some controversy even about Irish immigration 100 years ago, but we have a very kind of individualistic culture and values, and kind of a lot of independence, and people should take care of their own needs and make their own way in the world and stuff. But the Hispanic immigrants that are coming in, whether they're legal or illegal, have very different values and very different expectations. 83% of the Hispanic immigrants that come in want a bigger government that provides them with more services. And that's what they're coming here for in many cases. Even the ones who work are on benefits. And even the ones who do work and are not on benefits, they're still using services and infrastructure at a higher rate than they can pay for in their taxes. So from my perspective, it just doesn't benefit me to have more of them coming in. And so if we can cut down on at least the illegal portion of that, that's a benefit and a reprieve that will help me out.
What's going to happen if the proportion of white people keeps going down?
I think you're just going to see more of these identity politics, and you're going to have more interest groups and identity blocks that are kind of arrayed around the margins against the declining white majority. And once we become a minority, then, you know, we're in real trouble.